Welcome back, everybody. And we are getting into the Tier 2 teams for those of you listening in on audio. For those of you just catching up on YouTube, we talked about Tier 1 in our other video. So after this, you can, if you haven't watched that yet, you can catch up and find it in the same place on our channel. So Tier 2 consists of Rockets, Raptors, Heat, Nuggets, Sixers, Celtics, and Jazz. And when we say Tier 2, these are teams that you maybe have a dark chance of getting to the finals, possibly winning it depending on matchup, but these are teams that you wouldn't quite consider contenders, but they have a chance. Mm-hmm. Of this group, Todd, who do you think has the best chance of, we'll just say, reaching the finals?
So I know this is going to give your co-host a lot of joy, but I have come around. I have thought long and hard about this, and I think if any of these Tier 2 teams, if I had to bet my life on one of them making the finals?
Yes, sir.
I'm taking the Raptors. So I'll take the Raptors.
Smart man.
I just think, listen, Nick Nurse is incredible. I think if anybody can draw up a way to beat Giannis, it'll be Nick Nurse. They got length. What's it like? Boucher. They got all these. They got guys coming out of the woodworks from everywhere. Players. They got 9-10 guys that could play meaningful minutes, matchup oriented. Pascal, he's balling. Whatever, that championship pedigree. I think that if I had to bet on any of those Tier 2 teams, I think the Raps just, I think they have the best chance.
I want to mute Mike so bad right now.
You got me.
Listen, but Todd makes a great argument. And it's crazy. I wasn't even going to pick the Raptors until Todd made that argument, but I think I'll go ahead and pick them now. I think I would take them. I feel a little bit disrespected that they weren't in Tier 1. I just want to throw it out to defending champions, first of all. Okay, let's just, I'm just saying, when we say Toronto Raptors, we really should say defending NBA champions Toronto Raptors, because they do have defending NBA champion Kyle Lowry, who, I don't know if you watched the finals last year, Coop, when they played the Warriors. Man, that guy was balling out in the finals. He made Steph – oh, man, I don't even want to talk about it. I know it's going to hurt your feelings. But, hey, man, they got playoff experience. They've got the pedigree. Marcus Saul looks like a brand-new guy. And you talk about the length that Todd explained with Gasol, Ibaka, Boucher, Hollis Jefferson, Pascal Siakam, Norm. They just have, just
bodies,
ammo clips. You know what I'm saying? When Drake's talking about come to the studio with ammo clips, that's what the Raptors come with, length to the court to see Giannis, clips, okay? Brand new Beretta, okay? Coop, I know you want to jump in and talk about how good the Raptors are looking.
Oh man, it's honestly, it's tough because I hate getting Mike riled up on here. But I think we're unanimous here. I think they have the best. If you're talking about the best chance, it's still the Raptors. And you could have made an argument for them being in Tier 1 because Mike has them in the finals. I had them in the conference finals, and I certainly could see them beating the Bucks. Again, I don't have a ton of confidence in them, so I don't see why that wouldn't or couldn't happen. 6 guys average double figures for the Raptors, and Pascal Siakam, leading the way with 24 points per game. He's, that was a concern for me, was is Pascal Siakam a number 1 guy? Well, through the regular season, he was pretty much, you know what I mean? And because this Raptors team is so deep, it was, this is one of the issues that they gave the Warriors last year, is that they have 5 guys who can contribute, 10 to 15 points every game, at any given moment. So, they don't necessarily need a super dominant star. I think when they have one, it makes them championship caliber, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which is, when they had Kawhi. And even then, they played, when Kawhi sat out games, they played really well without him and had a great record. You know what I mean? They kind of just needed him for, I think, late game buckets, if you ask me. So, and obviously his defense on Giannis was super important. But because this team is so deep, it kind of doesn't need – a LeBron or a Giannis on it in order for it to at least get to the finals or even get out of the East here.
Yeah.
So I would say the Raptors from this tier certainly have the best chance. Another team that scared me in the East is the Heat. I think the Heat are similar, in a way where they have 7 guys who average double figures this year, and Jimmy Butler's their go-to guy, which you don't necessarily think of Jimmy Butler in like top 10 players, but he has enough talented guys around him. And they're interchangeable defensively now that they have, guys like Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala coming off their bench. They have shooters, guys who can knock down shots. Kendrick Nunn, Dragic, Harrow, Duncan Robinson's a sniper. So
yes, he is.
They have so many they have so many different types of players. It's like they have two-way players. They have snipers. They have ball handlers and good guards. They have one of the most versatile big men in the league in Bam Adebayo, arguably the most improved player. So, I think the Heat are also in the discussion. I almost went with them, but I think the playoff experience matters, and that's why I gave the edge to the Raptors. That entire core is the same, just minus Kawhi Leonard, so they're used to playing together. Yeah, and that's important. The Heat don't quite have that chemistry, even though they have a lot of veterans players and a lot of leadership. They don't have the chemistry that the Raptors have. But I don't think a lot of teams want to see the Heat in the playoffs. No,
and they have Spo and Eric Spoelstra. Like we talk about coaches, like he's been there how many times, and he's got real pedigree. Like I think they kind of give you like those early 2000 Piston vibes with the way they play and the way that they can interchange on defense. And they don't really have that one guy on offense. Jimmy Butler certainly will be the leader, and probably, if they're doing the thing I talk about where they clear it out for the one guy in the last 5 minutes, he'll probably take the bulk of that. But he's a good guy for that. And we saw it in Philly last year in the playoffs. Like when they were playing Toronto, like Philly is going to miss that. We'll talk about them. Took Toronto to 7, and a lot of it was Jimmy Butler. Like, hey, I'm an adult in the room here. Clear out. Let's go. Let me do this. And he did a pretty good job with it, I will say. So yeah, the Heat for sure. Yeah, probably not quite enough offensively when you look outside of Jimmy Butler as far as guys who are going to create. But Kendrick Nunn has shown some things. He was making his case for Rookie of the Year. I saw what was wearing the shirt mainly. I don't know if that's probably a stretch, but Todd, I know you're high on the Heat.
I was gonna say, I think that this out of this group, I think the Heat just can throw so much at you. I love Bam. I think Bam can, offense and defense, so versatile, gives you crazy matchup problems. And Jimmy. The reason that I probably have the Raps over is because Jimmy really hasn't shot it well this year. I think, when you're looking at that secondary playmaker, Kendrick Nunn, is he really going to be able to carry you into an Eastern Conference Finals or, it's deep into the playoffs, and Goran, the Dragon, he's getting up there. I think that this team can really give you good looks, but I think they relied a lot on shooting, and they are really good at home, not so great on the road, and that's another kind of thing we got to factor into this bubble situation. How are they going to react to that? But I think the combination of, can they keep up that high level of shooting? And I trust Jimmy. I trust Jimmy in the playoffs, but I think that lack of like a true secondary playmaker that I'm going to trust deep into the playoffs, I think that's going to hurt them. But honestly, if you told me that it was Bucks Heat and it was like Game 6 or something, I could believe that. I think that they have that chance. And Spo's my guy. I think Spo's great, and he's going to get these guys going full tilt when they need to be. So I think
the home court thing matters. I think, we're going to talk about this with Philly too, like the big difference on home and away. And I think it matters more for Miami because Miami, when they're at home, they have the big advantage of strip clubs, right? There ain't no strip clubs in the bubble. They're not going to have that advantage. All their opponents are going to be hungover, and stay up all night at the strip club. We're going to have to see how's Coach Spo going to address the not having the strip club advantage.
Yeah, true.
So,
Gentlemen's Club.
Sorry.
I think another wild card team that we got to worry about is the Rockets. I think they have two of the most dynamic players in the league. Two guys who can, by themselves, take over a lot of games. We've seen them do it. So how do we feel about the Rockets? And they've they've put all their chips in just those two guys' basket, right? They don't really have much else. Now, Eric Gordon out for 2 weeks. That's certainly going to matter because he's really their third option. But how do we feel about the Rockets and their chances of making a run here in the playoffs?
Well, I think
go ahead,
Mike.
Okay. I was just going to say, like, so first of all, I'm on record as a big fuck the Rockets guy. Can't stand watching them play. I hate it. Like, if they're on, like, I'd rather watch I'd rather watch figure skating than watch the Rockets play basketball, probably, to be honest. Just the way they play offensively is not appealing at all to me. And I will be very, very sad if they make it past the first round of the playoffs because I do not want to watch them play in the playoffs. I want to watch them play as little as I possibly need to. With that being said, low-key, I'm kind of feeling it. I'm kind of feeling the buzz. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. That guy Harden, man, he's a problem. He is very difficult to guard.
Swinging.
He came out swinging, right? Like,
and
he lost a bunch of weight. Like, what do you have, like 30 in the first half yesterday in the scrimmage? Man, listen, I'm not a Rockets guy. I can't stand the Rockets. And I've never been a big Russ guy either. I guess I enjoy watching him play a little more than Harden just because of the energy. But I've always been kind of like, well, these are fake stats. One of those, guys. But I don't know, man. Like, you talk about the matchups in the first round. Like, they got Denver. They get Denver in the first round. That's going to be tough for Denver. Now, Denver has seemed to have found something in Bull playing this power forward, small forward thing, shooting threes. Like, and maybe they'll just straight up outsize the Rockets to where they can't do anything. But typically, if the matchup is really good guards versus really good bigs, I tend to pick the really good guards. Yeah. So I think that they can handle that matchup. And then, I think that they're a mismatch for the Clippers and the Lakers in the West just because they play so different. And if it's like, they do the analytical thing and they say, okay, we're going to shoot 33s. And if we make 18 of these, we're probably going to win. Like, it just comes down to the numbers. And if they hit, they're going to win. If they miss, like they did so many times, they have so many times in the playoffs in big moments, they're going to lose. And, if those are my odds and it's not up to like, because at some point you look at teams and you're like, this is what we're talking about with the Clippers and the Lakers. And we're like, well, how do they match up with the Lakers? Like, how do the Lakers match up with the Clippers when you look at this guy versus this guy and this guy versus this guy? Well, the Rockets, I don't really care so much. I'm just like, they're going to shoot 35 threes. How many are they going to make? If they make half, they're probably going to win.
I'm really glad you brought up the Nuggets because, like, the whole time we've been talking before this, I think, the Rockets were probably my favorite for a while to that kind of sleeper dark horse team who could make it out if things go the right way. And I do. I love I'm not as anti-Rockets as you. I like watching Harden play. I think it's like music watching that guy, the footwear. I don't know. But I will say, Russ really, really stepped up to end the normal regular season or whatever. He was balling. And he kind of, he got COVID. He's come back. The first game was okay. Second game was really bad. I think he's a big question mark for me. What's he going to look like in this bubble? Can he kind of catch up? Because he, took that time off recovering. I think, though.
Well, he took the hydrochloroquine, right? He took
Oh, did he?
Hydroxychloroquine. Now he's cured.
Magic, man. That's magic. I love it. But I think so for me, the Nuggets, though, like you talk about that matchup, I think, there are times where the Houston's kind of been able to get big guys off the court. You look at the Jazz and previous playoff series, they basically just ran Gobert off the court. Mm-hmm. However, the Bull development is so interesting to me. I mean, that guy, I don't know. I think that he could be like the weird suit. I mean, he's like 7'2", can do everything you want. I think that maybe that could be like that kind of could push, depending on Jamal Murray. You need Jamal Murray to step up and be that guy. And he has not been. But I think the Nuggets really at this point, I'm really on the fence, and I think I'm leaning more Nuggets than Rockets right now. And my man Jokic got skinny. Balling.
He got
keto diet. So I don't know necessarily about the Nuggets and the Rockets matchup, who I'd take there, but I'm on board with you, Mike. I don't like the Rockets style of play at all. It's excellent for regular season because the game in the regular season is totally different than it is in the playoffs.
Yep.
So when it starts to get more physical and the game is slower and each possession is valued more, like every Harden sidestep / step back three is actually a little more harmful in the playoffs than it is in the regular season, right? Because the number of possessions that you have throughout a game is just less. So that's where their formula is always comes back to bite them, is that, like you said, they'll shoot 33s a game and they have to rely on hitting 17 or 18 of those to win. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's how often is that going to happen? Is it going to happen 16 times? No. So, you know what I mean? It's like, is it going to happen 12 times just for them to get out of the West? Probably not.
Daryl Morey would disagree.
He might, but and the bigger problem with this formula is, as a team, they shoot 35% from the three. So, like, I think that's the biggest issue, is that you're putting a lot of stock into shooting threes. When you think about it, like, Russ is not a good three-point shooter. Eric Gordon is probably one of your best, and even this year he only shot 32. Covington's probably your best. Percentage-wise, he was 35.7. So Covington's, like, in the discussion, but, like, he's certainly not creating any of those shots. He's going to be standing in the corner, you know, and you're really relying on him hitting a bunch of corner threes. I don't know that I love that idea, you know. And
PJ
Tucker, who, you know, now that he's playing the five, I don't know that he's necessarily shooting corner threes anymore, which is where he shoots from. So, like, you know what I mean? And he's not a great three-point shooter. So it's just like, well, okay, we're going to rely on threes. Whose threes are we relying on is the question. So it's like, and certainly they'll get hot and they will scare you. You know what I mean? And James Harden will have incredible games where, you know, he'll steal you one or two, possibly three games. But, like, when it gets to the biggest, brightest moment, the Rockets' style of play will always come back to bite them. Always. And it's happened for 5 years. And it's, you know, James Harden I think his conditioning has been part of the problem in that. So maybe now that we're seeing a skinnier James Harden, you know, maybe that helps a little bit, but, like, I don't know that it's enough to necessarily get them out of the second round. Maybe the first. I don't know that it gets them past the second round, though.
But it's similar. Go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, I was going to say that, you know, this, you know, we talked about, like, this matchup, you know, PJ playing the five kind of thing. I think in the regular season, you know, just something to pay attention is maybe, you know, most of the league does play, you know, way more traditional way. And it's basically this Rockets coming in with this weird matchup. We can't figure it out on a random back-to-back or a random night kind of thing. But if you get into this 7-game series with these guys, after game, are you able to figure them out? You know, if we're playing the same guys, that kind of thing. I think that maybe in the playoffs, I think that could be a problem. I think you can figure them out quicker. And like you said, it just comes down to making threes. But I think that size over a prolonged period is really going to hurt them. And I think I saw that, like, Tyson Chandler is, like, hasn't attempted a field goal since, like, December or something crazy. Like, he's just, you know, it's going to be hard to just throw him in there and be like, give us anything. So if it's not working, they don't really have a backup plan.
Yeah. And it's a similar argument with the Bucks, right? Like, the ISO thing and Giannis and Harden, they do this. But, like, this is just, like, the way the basketball's going. And, you know, we always see – there's always been – so whatever. Like, old heads are always like, oh, the regular season sucks and the playoffs are way better because they play defense. And, like, there's always been that. There's always been a gap between the regular season and the playoffs. But, like, it has gotten bigger, I think. I think the gap has gotten bigger in the defense. And when you look at, like, Giannis and Harden and the way they play, like, there's just big question marks about if that's ever going to translate to a playoff-style basketball. I'm not sure it does.
So let's talk about we got into the Nuggets a little bit, but let's talk about them a little bit. They, you know, the emergence of Bol getting healthy. You know, obviously Michael Porter Jr. is back. I don't know how much he factors in here, but Nuggets have a pretty deep, talented team. You know, how do you guys feel about the Nuggets, you know, with a possible run?
I don't like it. I mean, like, here's the thing. I like Jokic a lot, obviously. MVP candidate 2 years in a row. This year less than the year before. But he made a really strong push at the end. But, like, if Todd's argument for the Nuggets, why he likes the Nuggets so much is like, wow, I really like Bol Bol. I think Bol Bol is going to be a really big piece for them. Well, like, we just met Bol Bol 3 days ago at summer camp. Like, I just don't know where the playoff buckets come from. And, you know, like, isn't this what we saw last year from them? Wasn't it very similar? And the Spurs, who kind of sucked, took them to 7 games last year. Like, I'm off the Nuggets. I until they show me something playoff wise, I'm just off of it.
No, that's fair. I mean, the Nuggets, you know, can rip your heart out. I think that, you know, the last couple of years, this is the same story. They're the side seed. I mean, they are the 3 seed in the West. So, I mean, that's nothing to, you know, sneeze at. But I think that I'm on it. I just think that, you know, no Jamal Murray. So I don't think he's played in the summer or this, you know, the bubble yet. But I think that you're right. You know, we just met Bol Bol. But I think that he has shown at least that you can play him, I bet, at least 10 to 15 minutes. I think Michael Porter Jr. is a question mark. What kind of impact can he have in this bubble format? I just think that right now, though, I trust them a little bit more than these other guys in the West. I think that they have a solid foundation. Jokic is probably – no, Jokic, besides Harden, Jokic is the best player that we're talking about here. And I just think that this could be in this weird format. Like I keep bringing up the shooting thing. I think that I can trust Jokic to kind of control an offense, hold it down, and you know, he's been hitting the 3 at a pretty high clip. And I just think that maybe this year, you know, I think that they're not in the Lake. I can't see them, like, you know, obviously beating the Lakers or the Clippers. But I think this next year we're talking about the Nuggets just, you know, they're doing the, you know, was that zigging when other people are zagging, that big lineup, Jerry and Grant, these other guys. I think that could give some people some problems.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm more in buying future stock in Denver than I am right now, because I think Bol Bol has an incredible amount of upside, obviously. And, you know, Michael Porter Jr. is an idiot, but he certainly,
what's up with him?
He certainly gets buckets. But, like, obviously no one taught him anything else besides being able to score the basketball.
Someone needs to block his YouTube account.
Oh, man. But, you know, it's you know, until those two guys become, like, truly impactful players, I don't think the Nuggets are, like, title contenders. Like, their guards defensively aren't, like, Jamal Murray is not, like, great defensively. And it's probably more of a minus on the defensive end than he is a plus. So, and even Michael Porter Jr. is going to have to get a lot better defensively as he comes into his own. But, like, I think, like, Bol Bol is, like, a, you know, stretch 4 who, you know, can handle it, put the ball on the floor, knock down threes. Like, his upside to me is big. But, like, I don't foresee that they're going to play him a ton here to where he's going to have an impact. Right. So I say, like, the Nuggets are probably 2 to 3 years away from being, like, true contenders maybe. And I think they'll probably have to add some, like, 2-way wings or guards to the mix in order to complete that team. But, yeah, I'm not sold on them or buying any stock in them for this year at all.
I like Jokic as probably the second best player in this tier that we're talking about here. Probably. Maybe Tatum has an argument. I don't know. Or Siakam or somebody. But, no. But I don't like Embiid. But I just don't think he's ever the best player on a team that makes the finals.
Yeah, probably not. So let's talk a little bit about my guys, Sixers. One of probably the biggest wild cards. I don't know if you can really call him a wild card, but, you know, Ben Simmons moving to the 4 could shake some things up. See what I did there? Shake Milton's the starter.
That was a good one.
Like
that was good. That was good.
But, so and
dad joke.
Yes. And we saw Ben Simmons take a couple threes in this exhibition game, both from the corner. So it's looking like their strategy is going to be, when he's off the ball, is kind of getting him to knock down corner threes, which, as we know, is the shortest and usually the easiest 3 to knock down. So maybe that helps give him a little bit of confidence, you know, going into these bubble games. But, how are we feeling about the Sixers?
I like the Sixers. To me, I don't know what to think about Ben Simmons at the 4. I think it's great that they got Shaken there. Shaken had some perimeter shooting, but it feels like the same thing, and it just seems like ultimately I love the Sixers, and I think that they could make this run. Like, I do love it, and I think that the idea of Bucks Sixers could be an interesting, like, no holds barred, who's going to come out on top. I think that'd be a great series to watch, but I just don't think that in the end they're going to have enough perimeter shooting. I don't really trust Tobias to be the guy that they really need him to be. And yeah, I love seeing Ben taking those shots, but what does that really mean right now? Like, that's great to see going forward, but I don't know that that's really going to be the difference. And Embiid, I think, the conditioning, there's been a lot of jokes about what he'd look like when he came back. I think he looks pretty good. He does not look like he's gigantic. I think he's probably in better shape, arguably. But again, these close, back-to-back games, these games played in short amount of times, I think that can Embiid stay healthy? Can he, is he conditioned enough to be the top, 5, maybe higher talent that he is, but not have that consistency? So I love the Sixers, but again, I think it's the same old story. It's not enough perimeter shooting, and does Ben and Embiid really, are they the pair to make it work here? Like, can they work together at a high level through a playoffs?
Yeah, I love the Sixers with all my heart. I really do. But I don't really have any faith in them coming out of the East. Like, I think the only team we're really structured well to face is the Bucks. I think we're decently put together for the Celtics, but if we ever run into the Heat, that's not going to be a good series for us. I don't even love a series against, I don't really love a series against the Celtics either, but I could see us winning that if it came to it. But, the Ben Simmons shooting is encouraging because it at least gives the Sixers options, right, on what they want to do as far as Embiid post-up situations and how they're going to space the floor. And again, he knocked one down with ease. You know what I mean? That I don't think
it's encouraging.
You know what I mean? I don't know how often you're going to really need him to be out there and shoot from there, but if he can take 3 or 4 of those corner threes a game, he can knock down 1 or 2. You know what I mean? That's not super difficult. It's the easiest shot in the game, and he looked confident shooting those too. So we'll see. I still think I like Ben Simmons a lot better at the 4 if instead of it being Shake Milton at the guard spot, it was Brad Beal or someone like that. You know what I mean? Or if we had made a move for D'Lo before the trade deadline, something like that, a guard who can create and be in a playmaker / scoring role, that would be a lot more attractive for the Sixers, but we have this Al Horford contract situation, so that's looking bleak.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. I think if they can hold teams to 85 points per game, maybe, but I don't see that being the case.
Good luck, yeah.
I'm more and more out on the Sixers the more I look at the way this team is constructed. And we've talked about, just the way that the games go, and towards the end, it's are they going to dump it down to Embiid in the last couple of minutes here? Is that the game plan? Because, I don't love that game plan. I do love Embiid on the low block. I think he's the best probably low block scorer we have in the game today. But, I just don't like that game plan in general for any team. I don't care who's on the low block. I just don't think that's the way to win in 2020. And, they just don't have the guys around him Shake Milton. Shake Milton going to save the day? Unproven. Who was Shake Milton 6 months ago? I don't think we'd heard of Shake Milton. And Ben Simmons is great in transition. You put him at the 4. Does it matter that he's at the 4? I mean, he's probably still going to play similar. Are they going to just maybe they interchange where he is on the sets, and then it's well, then you're going to take the ball out of his hands on offense in the half court sets. Well, then why is he out there at all? They don't want him as a spot of shooter. Is he there just for transition offense and defense? Maybe he is. But, then it's okay, well, we're minimizing our all-star young point guard to Andre Roberson. Obviously not that bad, or maybe better.
But
maybe Draymond Green. But, I just don't know if that's what you want to do. And And there is all these questions that I just named, and even if there was a solution, even if there was a way to do all this, and Coop and Todd and me, we were the coaching staff, and we put our minds together and we figured out a way to do that. Like, Brett Brown ain't gonna figure it out. Brett Brown's not the guy. Brett Brown has proven he's not the guy. Like, he's just I don't know what it is. I mean, I do not think that he's the coach to lead them and to figure out the way to do it, especially when he's been doing it for how many years now and hasn't figured it out. You almost need an off season to rewrite the script with someone else.
Yeah. All right. So last Eastern Conference team that we got to talk about is the Celtics. Obviously, they've looked better this year, right? With the change out of Kemba and Kyrie. I think the Horford loss was pretty bad for them because he gave them, at the center spot, someone who could shoot, pass, and and defend, and even put the ball on the floor off of shot fakes and stuff like that. So that hurts a little bit, and the defensive situation that they have at the center spot isn't great. But Jason Tatum was elite this year after the All-Star break, especially in big clutch crunch time moments. He looked like he was stepping into a superstar caliber player. So what's your confidence level on the Celtics making it out of the East?
High, I guess. They seem to be everyone's hot pick right now. It seems like if you survey people who are basketball fans, I think a lot of them are like, who I think has a really good chance is the Celtics. Like, they're like the popular sleeper team. Like every year there's a popular sleeper team, and that's like, well, they're not really a sleeper anymore because everyone's picking. So, but like if you look at it, you're like, okay, well, they have the young legs. Maybe that matters in this type of a format. I don't know. I can't decide if I think it's going to favor the young legs or if it's going to favor the old experienced guys. Like, we just don't know. Like, even like you can't really compare. Like, some guys compare it to like a lockout season. Well, like, this isn't a lockout season. This is totally different, and everyone has the same rest. Like, so I don't know if that's how I want to do this. When I look at their roster, like, yeah, Tatum has been really good, like top 10 player in the NBA good since the All-Star break. Jaylen Brown has, solid two-way guy. We've called him Kawhi and Paul George light right now, like the way that they play. I think Kemba's probably the biggest factor, though, really. I think Kemba's more important to this run than Tatum or Brown is, because if Kemba is an elite point guard and you go into the playoffs and Kemba outplays Kyle Lowry and Kemba steps up in a way that Ben Simmons cannot offensively, and steps up in a way that we know the Bucks don't have a point guard who can do that. Like, that's gonna really mean something. That's gonna be a huge boost to when you look at the Celtics, who already have a pretty good pieces around Kemba. And I think last year the Celtics were pretty good. Kyrie kind of soiled them in the playoffs. I think they actually had a pretty good chance maybe to beat the Bucks if you did sub out a Kyrie for a guy like Kemba, who, like, I'm not saying Kemba is a better, like, if I just picked a one-on-one tournament or something like that, I probably would take Kyrie. But, like, if I'm playing team basketball, like, this is what I talked about earlier with Jamal Crawford and JJ Redick. Like, I think I'd rather definitely have Kemba. And in this scenario, in these playoffs, like, I think I really want Kemba to mesh with these young guys like Tatum and Brown. The questions are the big guys, and Tice and Canner. I think is pretty bad. Sorry, Canner. I just think he doesn't play any defense, and I don't know if I'm not going to trust him to go get a bucket or anything like that.
Right. So
that's like the big question. And we talk about the matchup with the Sixers and Embiid, like that could be a problem. But I think Celtic stock is going a little bit too high for me right now. I think I'm probably not as high as what it seems like. Seems like the media is. I just can't see them getting out of the East right now. Too young.
Yeah.
So I was the Celtics dark horse guy, and I think that the thing for me is Kemba. So there's reports now that the knee is not right. He's had 4 months off. The knee is not. I don't think that we're gonna see that elite level that you're talking about, that Kemba. So I was dark horse Celtics guy. I had all the stock in the world, but the fact that I don't think we're gonna get Kemba, at his best, I think that that kills it, and they don't have the depth. I like Tice. I think Tice can get it done, and Cantor in certain matchups. You're right, he's gonna get played off the floor, or he can give you something. But I just think the lack of depth and without, I don't trust that Kemba's going to be able to, really be the Kemba that we know. But I have all the Jason Tatum stock in the world. We did a podcast a while back. I think he is the real deal, and like I said, I would have picked the Celtics as that second choice to come out of the East if I thought that Kemba was right and everything was normal. But yeah, I think the Raps, like we talked about earlier, I think that they just kind of have the more complete team right now, and I trust them more than the Celtics. But if not, yeah, I mean, I was all in on the Celtics.
Yeah, I like the Celtics too. Ugh, I can't believe I said that. But yeah, Kemba's the X factor here. What his health situation is like, the rust situation is like. I think the most positive thing is they got huge boosts this season from Jaden Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And a lot of that has to do with Kyrie not being there, holding them back. But, then you got Gordon Hayward, someone we haven't talked about, who averaging 17 a game. I think you really like him in that role, whether, he's a sixth man as a, creator off the bench, or even if he's starting, at the 2 or the 3, he's certainly a good complementary player. So it's just, like you said, the center spot is an issue, something that they can address eventually, so we'll see how that works out. I don't love them for this year, but like you said, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have Kawhi and Paul George type potential.
Yeah,
I think so. Celtics have a pretty bright future as well.
Let's just do this real quick though. I just want to see kind of where you guys are at. Like these 4 East teams we just talked about. Like, can we just rank them real quick? Like, I'd probably go Toronto. I still think I'd have Boston over Miami though, so I'd probably go Toronto, Boston, Miami, Philly.
I'd probably do Toronto, Miami, Celtics, Sixers.
Agreed. I'd have that exact same order.
Okay.
So I just think the Heat right now, I don't know, the Celtics. I think the Heat probably could edge out the Celtics about right now, but we'll see.
Last team in Tier 2, Utah Jazz. What would it take for them to win or to win the West?
Oh, a lot.
A lot.
Signing of Jesus, maybe.
No Bojan or whatever. No,
that's
Bogdanovic. I think that really hurts. Yeah. Conley, though, I think that Conley could be playing better without the Bojan. I think he has that more off ball. It could be a little better, but either way, I don't trust it.
And Ingles isn't coming either, right?
And yeah, right. And I just don't think the Gobert, Mitchell, they obviously have something going on there. And I don't know. I don't have. The 0 is the confidence meter I have in them.
Yeah, I'm out on the Jazz too. And just like in general, like just fuck the Jazz. Who cares? Like change your name first of all. You're in Utah. Why are you the Jazz? Like it made sense when you were in New Orleans. Like why are you the Jazz? There's no Jazz in Utah. Everybody knows there's no Jazz in Utah. But anyway, did you see Gobert had that piece today? He got interviewed and he was like really like getting depressed and shit because people were blaming COVID on him. He's like, people think COVID in America started because of me.
Well, I don't think people actually believe that. It's just like, I really wish he would. Again, we talked about this the last time we did an NBA pod. Gobert, just chill, man. Just lay low. Don't do anything. Like, talk as much as possible to the press about COVID. And, you know what I mean? Just kind of build your chemistry back with your teammate that you broke. Like, I don't know. He certainly didn't bring it to America. He probably didn't even bring it to the NBA. But the way you handled it is why people are upset with you, not because they think that you brought it to America. Like that's ludicrous. We're mad that you didn't take it. Well, I mean, people are mad that you didn't take it seriously. That's why they're mad. And you just own it and let it go.
Yeah, I mean, he's a scapegoat. I mean, you just can't. When you think COVID NBA, you think of him touching the mics. Like it's just. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong a lot of things, but yeah.
It might have been better. It might have almost been better that he got – I mean, you hate to say that, but, because it shut down the NBA.
Put it out, yeah.
And then – because, for how many people did this not feel real at all until the NBA?
Well, the president was calling it a hoax for the most part, so.
Yeah, so true.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up Tier 2. of Rockets, Raptors, Heat, Nuggets, Sixers, Celtics, and Jazz. So we're going to take another quick, brief break if you're listening on audio, and then get back and talk about the third-tier teams, most of them fighting for 8-seed position in the West. But there's some others who kind of have something to play for, I guess, here. So, again, if you're listening or watching on YouTube, head on over to YouTube channel where you can find the Tier 3 video there. Thank you guys for tuning in so far, and we'll be back.